I used to think I was ready to die. Truly. No sadness. No regrets. I had a small home, a loyal old horse, a few worn books, and the silence I once called peace. But then, I realized death wasn't what shocked me the most. It was what I saw after I died. Something no one ever warned me about. Have you ever wondered what waits for us after our final breath? Is it a radiant heaven? An eternal void? Or worse, a full replay of our life when it's too late to change any of it? My name is Jennifer Adams. I'm 62. I was once a nurse, once a broken wife, once a mother full of regrets, and once a woman who turned her back on the world just to find a little peace. I moved to Colorado 3 years ago to these hills where it's just me, the wild grass, and dreamless sleep. Every morning I make coffee. No sugar, no cream, just like my life. And every afternoon, I walk my horse along a narrow trail. I named him Mercy because sometimes all we need is a little of it. I didn't go to church. I didn't pray. But I believed somewhere out there, a door was waiting for me to walk through. And I thought I was ready. I had let go. I had forgiven. I truly believed. I was ready to die. That day, I only meant to take a short ride. But I still remember the feeling of the wind brushing past my shoulders, the grass bending beneath Mercy's hooves, and my heart beating like I was truly alive. That's something I've never told anyone. I only ever felt fully alive when I was closest to death. Just like the most brilliant sunrise always comes right before the darkness. The horse began to run faster. I tried to pull back on the reins, but there was no response. The wind turned into a scream. The ground swelled and rolled beneath us, and the grass sharp as blades cut through the air like a warning. And in that moment, I knew I was no longer in control. I was flying through the air, but I never hit the ground. I didn't fall. I simply disappeared. Into a space soft as velvet, dark as ink, with no beginning and no end. And then, I saw myself, a different me, the one that had died. Sometimes, to understand the meaning of life, you have to step outside of it, but that was only the beginning. Because what I saw next, it wasn't heaven, and it wasn't hell. It was my life laid bare. No excuses. Staring straight back at me. And you won't believe this, the thing I regretted the most was something so small I once thought it meant nothing at all. I didn't feel the impact. There was no sound of a horse crying out, no rush of wind, no sickening crack of bone like I had always imagined. No pain, no burning, no scream, just a strange silence. So silent, it terrified me. Then I realized I wasn't there anymore. Not the me on the ground, not the one in the saddle, not the woman riding through the open field. I was drifting, not upward, not downward, just drifting. There was no time, no direction, no place to hold on to. I became something, invisible, yet fully aware that I still existed. I saw a darkness smooth and soft, like black velvet, but it wasn't the kind of darkness you find at night. It was deeper, as if the entire world had been swallowed whole. And amid that vast nothingness, I had the strange sense that I was entering into myself. I couldn't explain it, but I knew one thing, I had died. I knew it was certainly as I know the sun will rise. No one had to tell me. No proof was needed. I just knew. And that's when fear started to creep in. Not because of death, but because of what came after. It wasn't death that scared me. It was the fact that I was nothing. No skin. No name. No familiar habits like sipping coffee in the morning or tucking my hair behind my ear when the wind blew. The little things, the ones you never think matter until they're gone, and you realize they were you. I couldn't see my hands or feet, but I saw a mass of light hovering in front of me like a brilliant crack in the darkness. It wasn't blinding. It wasn't warm. It wasn't cold. But it called to me. I moved closer. Or maybe I was being drawn in. And then I began to see. Not the afterlife. Not angels. Not the bridge of light people always talk about. I saw me. My entire life unfolded like a slow-motion film. But it wasn't playing in front of me. It was playing through me. I didn't just remember each moment. I felt them, as if I were reliving every second. I saw myself at 6 years old, hiding my little brother under the table, just so I could claim the last piece of cake. That feeling petty, awkward washed over me exactly as it had back then. Then I saw my mother ill, but still smiling every time I entered the room. And I, too caught up in a new romance, I forgot to call her back. I saw the arguments with my ex-husband, how I tried so hard to be right, instead of trying to understand. I saw his eyes when I said, "I'm tired," and walked out, never looking back. I saw my daughter, at 14, quietly rewashing the laundry I'd left in the machine because I was working an 18-hour shift. I saw myself in every single action, even the smallest ones. And I felt everything that others had ever felt because of me. The love, the hurt, the moments I caused pain, even if it was just a cold glance, a withheld word. I began to cry, not out of guilt, but because I realized I had lived a life so much smaller than it could have been if only I had learned to love sooner. I had always believed I was a good person, that I lived well, harmed no one, held no grudges, and stayed clear of darkness. But in this space, I finally saw the truth. Not causing harm doesn't mean you've truly lived. I had existed, but I had never dared to love with my whole heart. Never dared to say, I'm sorry, while I still had the chance. Never dared to hold someone longer than what felt appropriate. And now, I had no more chances left. I started to scream not with sound, but with energy. I wanted to go back. I wanted to hold my daughter. I wanted to write my mother a letter. I wanted to call that old friend I once pushed away with careless words just to say, I'm sorry I disappeared. But apologies, in this place, no longer reached anyone. All I could do was feel the weight of it and swallow the regret like fire consuming my soul from the inside out. And then, in the middle of that despair, a voice rose. Not from anywhere around me, but from within me. You weren't created to be perfect. You were created to learn how to love. Within that imperfection, that sentence cut like a blade, but not to wound. It was the kind of blade that slices open the truth. I had always demanded perfection from myself, and from others. I punished myself for every mistake, and I quietly walked away from relationships because I didn't know how to forgive. Maybe I needed to forgive myself first. Maybe death isn't the end. Maybe it's a mirror. The only mirror that doesn't distort your reflection. Where do you see yourself without the makeup, without the mask, without the lies? I kept drifting through that space, every memory, every lesson drilling deep into me. No escape. Until I saw them again. The one I lost more than 40 years ago. And that silent conversation saved my soul. You won't believe who showed up in that moment to welcome me. I thought I was ready to face it all, the memories, the regret, the sharp thorns of remorse piercing through my spirit. But I wasn't ready for what was about to happen. I thought I had remembered everyone. I thought I had seen every mistake. But there was one thing I had buried so deep. Even I had forgotten it existed. She came from a soft light in the distance, no sound, no footsteps, no anger, no blame. She just stood there, and the way the light wrapped around her tiny frame took my breath away. I knew instantly. Emily. I never thought I would see her again. Not here. Not like this. A 7-year-old girl with honey-colored curls, eyes that always seemed to carry sunlight, and a laugh like tiny wind chimes dancing in the breeze. Emily wasn't my daughter. She was my little sister. She died nearly 50 years ago. I was only 13. She was 7. It happened during a school picnic, a drowning accident. I can still hear my mother's screams, the way her voice broke as if her soul had been torn in two. And me, I just stood there. I didn't cry. I only felt relief. It's something I had never admitted to anyone. Not once. I was jealous of her, and I felt guilty for the relief that followed. So I locked that memory away, sealed it inside an invisible box, and buried it deep in the corners of my mind, never to be opened again. Until now. Emily stepped closer. She didn't say a word, but I heard her in my heart. You're not the only one who's ever felt that way, and you don't have to punish yourself forever for it. You didn't abandon me. You were just a child. I understand. I began to tremble. And then I broke down, not in tears that gently wet the cheeks, but in the kind of crying that feels like your entire body is melting from a grief too long buried. I fell to my knees, or maybe it was my soul that knelt. Not in guilt, not in shame, but before something far greater than blood, or memory, or even love. It was greater than forgiveness. It was absolute understanding. I no longer carried guilt. What I had been carrying, it was a pain that had never been given a name. And Emily, she named it for me. I felt myself becoming lighter. So light, I nearly dissolved, but not into nothingness. I was dissolving into light, as if I were finally returning to a part of myself that had been severed long ago. And then, that voice rose once more from deep within. This is the final lesson. Forgiveness is not something you do for others. It's something you do for your soul. A series of images appeared again. But this time they carried no weight. Silent glances. The times I intertwined my fingers with my mother's. Letters I never sent. Hesitant but warm embraces. And I realized, My life wasn't just a string of mistakes. It was also made of scattered fragments of light moments that had fallen through the years, but were never truly lost. And then I saw one final image. Me sitting on the old stone bench in front of the house, sunlight warming my face, my wrinkled hands gently holding my daughter's. No words. Just one thing in my eyes, presence. No more shoulds. No more right or wrong. Just being fully and finally. All that remained was pure, unconditional love. And then the voice from within the light asked me a single question. Are you ready? At first, I thought they were asking if I was ready to go farther to that place where souls are finally called home. But no, I knew exactly what they meant. Are you ready to go back? To return to a place of pain, of loneliness, of a frail body, ticking time, responsibilities, and loss. I had tasted heaven. But they wanted to know, was I willing to go back? To truly live? And when I nodded, they said nothing. No farewell. No promises. They simply guided me through a veil of light, one that led not to comfort, but to pain. But within that pain, it was a gift I never imagined I'd be given again. I don't even know how I nodded, because I no longer had a body to nod with. All I had was willingness. And in that realm, will is the language of the soul. When I said I was ready to return, a stream of light opened gently as breath, yet powerful as a wind that passed through my very soul. It wrapped around me like an embrace, not the kind of light that burns, but a light that remembers. It reminded me, knew me, held me like a mother cradling her child after a long and terrible nightmare. And in that embrace, I began to remember something I never knew I had forgotten, the feeling of absolute safety. Unconditional, unafraid, free of judgment. And within that embrace, I met the presence. I can't call it God, or angel, or assign it any label the world has ever known. There was no clear form, no face, no gender, and yet it was more real than anything I had ever touched. This presence, it was everything I had ever longed for, yet never knew how to name. It was the embrace I had wished for at 7 years old, the gaze I had craved from a father who never cried, the arms I had never held open long enough for someone I loved. It was love in its most primal, original form. I didn't hear the words, but every cell of my soul understood everything this being transmitted to me. There is no language, no matter how beautiful, that can translate what I was shown. But I will try. You didn't come to the physical world to be perfect. You came to learn this. Love is an action, not a feeling. It's the choice to forgive when you have every reason to resent. It's choosing to stay when walking away would be easier. It's saying I'm sorry not because you were wrong, but because you value the connection more than your pride. And suddenly, I began to remember the moments I had done those things. Tiny ones. Simple ones. There was the time I let a young nurse lead a procedure, even though I had more experience. The time I wrapped up a small cake and left it at the door of my neighbors going through chemotherapy without signing my name. The time I held the hand of a dying patient and whispered that it was okay to let go, that his wife still loved him, even though she had passed long ago. I used to think those moments were small, but in that world, they glowed. They burned like soft flames in the night. And in that glow, I understood the reason I was still alive. Not to do something grand, but to love in the most ordinary, quiet, and steadfast way. Then the presence asked me not with words, but with light, do you want to go back to live what you've just come to understand? I didn't answer. I pleaded. Please, give me one more chance. A chance to truly love others. To say the apologies I never had time to say. To listen instead of reacting. To be present. Fully, genuinely present. The presence touched me not with hands, but with pure being. And I knew. I was accepted. Not because I was worthy, but because I was willing to return. Willing to return to myself. To dare to walk through the darkness without turning away. To face death to learn how to live. I began to see the light narrowing. Everything around me started to tremble. At first, I thought I was being pushed back into pain. But no, I was falling back into my old body. And I knew without a doubt this time I was coming back. I was no longer the old Jennifer, the woman who had lived as if she were already dead. I was the woman who had died to finally understand what it means to live. But the return wasn't gentle. It hurt like being born again. And what I saw when I opened my eyes would change every relationship in my life forever. I opened my eyes, or more accurately, I felt myself open my eyes, though I couldn't see anything but darkness and the cold, rhythmic clatter of machines around me. The air felt thick, like the room itself had weight. The scent of antiseptic. The steady beep-beep of monitors. and a crushing pressure on my chest as if I were buried under tons of earth. I didn't know where I was. I only knew one thing: I had come back. I tried to move my hand, nothing. Tried to speak, but my throat was blocked, a tube silencing everything I wanted to say. I used to think dying was the hardest part. It wasn't. Coming back, to keep living, that's what takes real courage. Every jolt of pain through my chest felt like thunder exploding inside me. Every heartbeat was like a hammer striking a wound that was trying to heal. I didn't die. I lived. And with that, life came with a responsibility I had never fully understood until now. On the third day after I woke up, my daughter came. She walked into the ICU room wearing her work clothes, her face composed, trying to stay calm. But I could see it, the red rims around her eyes. I never imagined that one day I would feel grateful just to look at my daughter's face again. She sat down beside me and took my hand so gently, as if touching the wing of a butterfly. "Mom, can you hear me?" I nodded, just barely. And for the first time, I didn't see my daughter as a child to be guided or corrected. I saw her as a soul who had walked beside me across lifetimes. I didn't know how I knew that, but I felt it. It felt as if the love between us had once been fractured. But now I was being given the chance to mend it. With all the strength I had, I managed to write on a small whiteboard. The letters are shaky and uneven. "Thank you for not giving up on me." She broke down in tears. In the days that followed, they moved me to recovery. Every small act of sitting up, chewing a spoonful of broth, and taking a deep breath without pain became a victory. I began to relearn how to live, but this time with awareness. I looked at the nurses as if they were angels in scrubs. I held the hands of every doctor, not just to say thank you, but to share a piece of the love and light I had received from the other side. A week later, I asked to speak with the hospital chaplain. I wasn't a religious person, never really had been, but I needed to talk to someone who might understand the things I couldn't explain to just anyone. I told him about the light, about Emily, about the presence. The chaplain didn't ask many questions. He just sat in silence for a long time. Then he said, "Some souls must brush against death to find life again. Maybe you're one of them." I nodded. When I was discharged, I didn't return right away to my little cabin in the hills. I went to my daughter's home. For years, we had lived like two planets orbiting each other close enough to see, but never quite close enough to touch. This time, I chose to break that orbit. One evening, while she was washing dishes in the kitchen, I walked up behind her and wrapped my arms around her the way I used to when she was just a little girl. "I'm sorry," I whispered, "for not truly being present during the years you needed me most." She didn't say a word, but I heard the sound of a sob caught in the back of her throat. I didn't need forgiveness. I only needed that moment. The moment I knew I had finally begun to live truthfully. Since that day, I've kept a journal. Every single day I write. Thoughts. Things I see. Words I never got to say. I went to my mother's grave, a place I hadn't visited in nearly 10 years, and I sat there, telling her everything. I called an old friend, someone I had quietly walked away from after an argument that, in hindsight, didn't matter at all. I didn't try to explain. I didn't shift the blame. I simply said, "I miss you, and I'm sorry I disappeared when I should have stayed. I know I don't have as much time as I did at 30, but I have more life than I've ever had before. It's not about how many years we live. It's about the quality of each moment. It's about presence, about seeing with love in your eyes, about the little things, a hug, a kind question, a cup of tea made just right. It's about the deep, unwavering gratitude that I'm still here." And then one day, as I sat on the wooden bench out on the porch, bathed in the golden light of the late afternoon sun, I realized I wasn't afraid of death anymore, because this time I had truly lived. And I want you to know, death is not the enemy. It has been the greatest teacher of my life. I sit alone on the old wooden bench out on the porch. The sun is setting slowly, unhurried, as if it no longer needs to shine for anyone else. Golden light slants gently, stretching across the steps, covering my silver hair like a soft, silent blessing. I gently place my hand over my chest. My heart is still beating. Soft, steady, at peace. I used to fear death. I once thought I was ready, only to realize I knew nothing about living, let alone dying. But now, I'm no longer afraid. Not because I know what waits on the other side, but because this time, I have truly lived. I didn't write this story to tell you about the light, or the tunnel, or the supernatural. I wrote it to tell you this, the one thing I wish someone had told me so much earlier. Don't wait until your heart stops beating to finally start listening to it. Don't wait until someone is gone to say, I love you. Don't wait until it's all over to realize how shallowly you were living. Do you know what I regret the most? It's not that I chose the wrong career. It's not the divorce, the anger, or the people I've hurt. What I regret most, it is that I was absent from my own life. I was there, but I wasn't truly present. I looked, but I didn't see. I heard, but I didn't listen. I lived, but I didn't love deeply enough, not long enough, not patiently enough. I write these words for you, the one reading, the one listening, the one still living. Maybe you're tired. Maybe you're ready to give up. Maybe you feel like you're nothing in the middle of this vast, noisy world. But please, pause. Take one deep breath. And remember, you're still here. And that means you still have a chance. A chance to love. A chance to forgive. A chance to call someone you once let slip away. A chance to reach out and hold a hand instead of letting it go. A chance to try again, to speak again, to live again, even if just a little. I don't know how many days I have left in this life. I've stopped counting. Now I measure time by the quality of each moment. By presence. By the small things. Measured by a look, a smile, and the words, I love you, spoken not at the perfect moment, but the very moment your heart dares to feel it. I once asked the presence that being of light, how will I know if I've lived enough? And the answer didn't come in words, but in a single quiet question. If today were your last day, what would you do differently? I don't know who you are, but I know this. If you're still hearing me right now, it means you still have time. Don't let my lesson become your regret. At the beginning I said, I think I'm ready to die. But now, after everything that's happened, I want to revise that. I'm not ready to die. Because for the first time in my life, I've just learned how to live. Don't live as if you have forever. Because the truth is, we only have today to live as if we've never truly lived before. If you're still reading this, then maybe just maybe your heart is stirring too. I invite you to share in the comments. What's the greatest lesson you've ever learned from a life-altering moment? I will read every comment, not just to respond, but to be present with you. The way someone once stood with me on the other side of the door. And if you believe that every soul needs a moment of awakening, hit follow, so we can keep touching life through one near-death story at a time, every week. Because who knows? Maybe the story you heard today will be the very thing that keeps someone holding on when they were just about to let go.